Coming back in.
Good afternoon and welcome to Motivation Speaks with Angel Ferguson. We thank you for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon. For this is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. We would love to stay connected with you, our listening as well as our reading audience. You can check out our Facebook page, WTI Productions, Hope and Truth Magazine, and author Angel Ferguson. You can also visit us on Google, Instagram, and Twitter. And after we are off the air, you can listen to our podcast via iHeartRadio, check out The Balance of Life, our YouTube channel, and on iTunes. Our mailing address is 7402 North 56th Street, Suite A and B, Tampa, Florida 33617. Our email address is afergusonwrp@yahoo.com, and our telephone number is 813-336-2181. Here today, as we are coming to you live, we have author Marva Gathers Williams here to discuss her book, Paul. And you can purchase the book currently via Amazon, barnesandnobles.com, priced at $21.95. And during our episode today, during our live podcast, we're going to get a chance to speak to this awesome author and find out about her book and her journey into writing. So help me welcome author Marva Gathers Williams.
Hello. How's everyone today? I'm here talking to Angel concerning my book, Paul. And first of all, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in Tampa, Florida. Yes, I'm a native Floridian, and also my husband is. And I lived in West Tampa the majority of my life. I grew up around a diverse society of people. We had Cubans, Italians, Puerto Ricans, blacks, and whites, and we all lived in one big happy family. We went to different schools, but after school it was business as usual. We all played together and we got involved in different activities. I have 8 siblings. Can you imagine having 8 siblings in one house with one bathroom?
No.
It was total chaos. Life wasn't easy. Life was hard and complicated. But through the grace of God, we made it. My father was a strict disciplinarian that ruled our house with an iron fist. There was no foolishness, no back talk, no excuses, and definitely no opinion or attitudes. They taught us to work hard and not to look out for handouts. They were very proud people. I never knew what it was not to work. I think I was born working. All of my siblings graduated from high school, and a couple of them actually got college degrees. The only way that you could really describe my upbringing was never. There were never enough of anything. Never enough cold air, hot air, food, or any of the necessities. We lived in a house that my grandfather built. Therefore, I didn't have the opportunity to see any other part of the world. The only thing I knew was West Tampa. And I guess that was enough for me at the time. And after graduating from school, I worked for a while, and then I pursued a job at First National Bank and worked there for 2 years. Then I went to Tampa General, where I worked for 30 years and retired. I remember as a supervisor at Tampa General, I had this one employee that worked for me. She was a data entry operator. Mm-hmm. And her main questions to me so many times were, what do you think the world has in store for you?
Okay, that's a very good question.
And you know, I always answered her with nothing. She was Caucasian, and I'm a black African-American woman, and lived in a house with 8 siblings, 1 bathroom. So what would the world have in store for me? Nothing. You know, Only thing I did was what I worked for. If I didn't work for it, it didn't happen. I had no idea of what the world would have in store for me. But the world didn't have my me in their hands. God did, and that's who I trusted. I trust Him for everything that I do. I guess I don't know whether she asked me those questions because she worked for me under me a number of years, and she often asked me that question over and over. I don't know whether she wanted to see my reaction or whether she wanted to get a response from me. I really don't know, but anyway,
Do you think maybe, because I like questions like that, do you think maybe she was asking that question to pique your curiosity, to make you find out why you were created and what you were here for? Because I will ask someone that very same question because I want you to think, why? Why am I created? So if I ask you what's your purpose?
Now, being in the field that you are in, I could see you asking me a question like that. Or knowing this particular employee, I think that she was trying to get my response because of the negativity that had been told to her in the office.
Oh, okay.
Not she really didn't mean me
any good. Okay.
Asking those questions.
Okay.
And so I wouldn't even elaborate when she asked me a question like that.
Okay.
I just kind of said nothing and left it at that.
Okay. So, if you are just joining us, you are hearing the voice of author Marva Gathers Williams, and I can tell you that I'm super excited about reading her book, and she's not a new author. She also has a children's book that I believe after our talks for today that she's going to revamp and reintroduce. We'll see if we can get her to give a little bit of more details about her next upcoming project, which she is currently writing. And we will take a break. We'll be back in just a moment because we have some questions. We just got a little bit of her history, and I really love to find out what inspired her to write this book. And we'll be back in just a moment. Good afternoon and welcome back to Motivation Speaks with Angel Ferguson. We thank you for spending the afternoon with us as we have author Marva Gathers Williams here to discuss her book, Paul. And we have a few questions, and I do know that Miss Williams has a very interesting life, and I kind of got some information, some details before we came on the air, but I do want to share those with you as well. So I wanted to find out, even in your first book, which is a children's book, what inspired you to write? And then also, here's a two-part question, to take that leap to get published, because so many people will
say, he actually let me write it. He pulled out of me what was already in there.
Okay.
He didn't use his words. If we came to something that we needed to finalize or we need to explain, he asked me my opinion, and he used my opinion, which I guess maybe I could have done it on my own without him, but he pulled it out of me and made me write what I already had. And so it took us maybe like a day to do that.
Okay.
And then afterward, before he left, he said, you know what? You should become a writer. And those words really stuck in my head from then on when he told me that, because actually he didn't do the writing, I did the writing.
Right.
And I already had it, but I didn't know I had it. And so from then, maybe it took me a couple of years, and that's when I started. And once I started, I just continued to do it. And then reading a story, sometimes, you can look at it and say, you need to get this published. And those words came to me, and that was my motivation to go ahead and do that second step and try and get it published.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So, and that would take me into the next question. Was that your first discovery for the passion of writing?
Yes, it was and then plus, I have this critic behind me, which is my husband, that pull me and try and make me to go a little bit further, and he really motivated me also.
And that's awesome when you can have that support system.
Yes.
When you have someone, a spouse, you can do it, because even when you have those doubts yourself, that push, that extra push, he has read what you have written, and just to hear him encourage you about your children's book and revamping it, and you can't ask for anything more.
He's behind me 100%. So
that is awesome. That's awesome. So if you have the expert from the back of the book, Paul, can you read that for us?
No. Alexis woke up frightened and looked around for Paul. He wasn't there. Her hands reached out and caressed the empty cold mat. "Paul, Paul," she called out. "Where are you?" There was no answer. She sat up, her vision scanned the area around her. Her pumped-up heart skipped a beat. It was still dark outside, but maybe almost 3 years. Too dark to be blundering around looking for someone. Tears formed in her eyes. She fell back down in sheer panic, covered her head with a thin blanket, and tried to muffle the sound of her heartbreaking sobs and stop the wet tears that cascaded down her frozen cheeks. She put her throbbing fists in her mouth so no one would hear her. Deep, harsh sobs racked her rigid body just before she fell into a weary sleep, filling the rest as they pulled at her blanket. Daybreak came. Her eyes popped open. A silhouette wet from the sun penetrated her crusty eyes. She threw back the blanket, stuck out her foot from under the tent, grimaced, and jerked it back. It was still too cold to get up, but she had to find Paul. She reluctantly sat up and crawled out of the tent and stood looking around. Once again she called out, "Paul, Paul, where are you?" He wasn't there. Her almost perfect vision was blurred by the matter that seeped into her eyes during the night. Her frozen fingers reached out and wiped it away. She crawled back inside, rolled up her blanket, and walked away from her home, the only home she had known for some time. She was now on a journey to find the love of her life. Her search was not in vain. She found him right under her nose. Then her life started once again for the second time around, or so she thought.
So when I read this, I'm like, first of all, where are they? And I wanted to visualize where they were And I think that's so important for an author. If you can take me into that vision in your mindset of writing, that's what pulls into a book. That's what sells a book, because I feel like I'm there with the characters with you. So when I read that, I'm literally trying to picture them laying down and why are you in this place of desolate, and what has happened in your life, what has transpired that you are now in like a campground. So therefore I'm like, okay, yeah, I got to read this book, because now my curiosity is piqued and I want to find out, why are they there? How long have they been there? How long are they going to be there? And where did Paul go?
Are you asking me the question?
I don't want to give it away. I'm going to read the book. I'm going to read the book, but those were my questions that's drawn me to read the book. Now, before we got on the air, you said something about just describing Paul that really now is going to make me, who is Paul? Because you said at times Paul was two different people. So tell me about that. Say that to the audience, because I need you all to go out and purchase this book. It is entitled Paul. The author is Marva Gathers Williams. You can purchase the book online. I do have the book here at the bookstore. The price of the book is $21.95, and we're going to see about setting up something special so that you can get an autographed copy. So if you would like to purchase the book, our address is 7402 North 56th Street, Suite A and B, Tampa, Florida 33617. Our telephone number is 813-336-2181. We have the book listed on all of our social media sites. The book will appear in our magazine, Hope and Truth. We really definitely want to promote this book. It's great when you have a local author that can come in, and she is from the Tampa Bay area, so she is one of our own, and we do want to show her our support. So just that little snippet about Paul being two people, tell us about that, because that to me is great characterizing.
Now, when Paul disappeared, he had a bad cold and his fever his fever peaked, and it made him a little delirious, so he wasn't aware of his surroundings and he didn't know where he was, so he stumbled off and went to places unknown. And when he did, he was found on the street. They put him in the hospital. He didn't have any identification at all. They had no way of knowing who he was, so they gave him a new name, and they named him Michael.
Oh, wow.
So therefore, he had Michael in one place and Paul in another.
Oh, wow.
And because of his memory lapse, he had amnesia. He didn't know really who he was. He didn't know whether he was Michael or whether he was Paul. So it depends on who was talking to him or who he was around. He was Paul at one time and Michael at another.
Wow. That's interesting. And I will, as I'm reading the book, I will blog and pull you in along with myself. I'm not going to give away everything in the book because I do want you to show your support and purchase the book, but that is very, very interesting. Now, in your writing process, I know every author has their own process of developing characters. Was it easy for you, or could you? Because what I teach is you have to put yourself in the mind of that character that you're building. Is that what you did?
To a certain extent I did, because of the way that the main character had to live. Now Paul was actually the second character in the book. but Alexis was the main character, and I really put myself in her position.
Okay.
Because she was a person that was living on the street. Of course, I've never lived on the street, but I have had hard times in my life where, I needed this and I had to have that, and money was not available.
Okay.
So I really put myself in her position, and I could kind of visualize what she had to go through and what she was doing in order to find Paul.
Okay. That's interesting. And I've dabbled with character-based before, but I write spiritual and motivation, so I'm always intrigued on that balance. And I mentor some students, and one of the students had a short story, and he had characters in it, and I had to teach him, you have to give the characters a life. Mm-hmm. Meaning not just their words, but their actions and their gestures. So I always find that intriguing that you can juggle that in your mind and give each character their own identity and live through them, so to speak. So that's very, very interesting. I'm absolutely loving the cover because I love anything dealing with the sky and just the beauty of it, because that is natural beauty. That is something that no one could paint for me, that I could look up in the sky and I can get the natural beauty. And the cover is this couple, and they're walking along the tracks. Very beautiful cover. And the book has 388 pages, which is a very, very good read. And I'm so looking forward to reading about the different characters. And I'm not gonna dig too much so that she gives too much away. Tell me, how did you feel when you reached that goal of having your books published?
I was a little bit nervous and didn't know what to expect, and I was hoping that things would work out fine for me, that it would sell, that it would be something that the public wanted to buy. Mm-hmm. But I was a little bit hesitant because of, as I said, I published the first book, and sometimes it's the person that you have working with you, that a new publisher don't ever know exactly what to expect. You only have to go in the leadership of the person that's publishing it for you. Mm-hmm. And so if they're giving you bad information, then you're apt to not to do so well. So I was a little bit even this one, I'm a little bit hesitant about it, because I said, well, that might just be deja vu, just like the first one. But I'm putting my hopes in God that He'll see me through this one, and hopefully that He'll take me all the way to see that it does good, it does well, and that a lot of people will want to read it. And I tried to give the readers something that would be excitable, something that they say, well, I can't put this down, I got to see what happened next. I sold it to one lady at my church, and she said she couldn't put it down. She said, I just had to see what happened to Paul and where he was and, and what he was doing. So, and then I, talked to another lady. She said, that was just her. She took it in the kitchen and everywhere with while she was sticking. So, it seems to be, I'm getting good response from it.
Okay.
So hopefully, everything will work out good for me.
Okay. And we definitely want you to reach beyond just your local market. So is the book being carried in other states?
Yes.
Okay. That is awesome. That's a good presence, because a lot of times your book is just local, and you definitely want to take it international. And we do know that details will be coming very soon. You do have a upcoming event at one of the Barnes & Noble's locations for a book signing, and we are trying to get some things going so that she can have more than one. We'll definitely have you back during a table talk brunch so that we could feature you in the book, and just really get you out there and promoted. I always have a description when I'm publishing for a client. The reality of when you hold that book in your hand, I always describe it as birth. Is that what you?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like it's birth. It's my labor, what I have put forth, and it's finally here.
Right.
So, congratulations. I know that you are beyond proud. It's a legacy that you leave your family and your grandchildren, that you have added the title of author, published author, to your name. Tell me, are there any charities or organizations that you are a part of?
No, the only thing I just give to the St. Jude Church and to the just different organizations like that, but I don't belong to any one per se.
Okay. We definitely want to help immerse you in the writer's world, the publisher's world. And when I say that, when I got into publishing and even as an author, it's just like when you worked at the hospital, it's a whole world.
Yeah.
And that's how the writers and publishing community is. There is a lot of local talent here in the Tampa Bay area. And I do know for like author T.M. Brown, she is constantly somewhere at a booking event. And when she posts, I always try to pass that information along. I would recommend that as vendors, sometimes organizations, they have events and they need vendors. That is your grand opportunity to really get out there and take your books with you and to sell. So we do have some contacts that will definitely line you up with and get you to meet, so that and when you go to those events, you're not there by yourself. And for everyone that I know, they love to support each other and to help you find ways of promoting. Like Tina she's constantly somewhere with her books. And I always joke, do you ride around with the books? Do you ride around with them?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's what, when I first started out, so did I. Mm-hmm. I always had a book. But now I can't walk around with all of those books. If I'm doing a speaking engagement, what I like to do is I'll take them, and because I write spiritual and inspiration, I give them out when I can. We will be back in just a moment here at Motivation Speaks with Angel Ferguson as we continue our talk with Marva Gathers Williams. Once again, you can purchase this book via Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble's. The book's price is $21.95. We also have the book here at the bookstore. And we will, let's talk about making arrangements to get you a signed copy of this book. Our phone number is 813-336-2181. Even when we leave the air, you can listen to the podcast via iHeartRadio, The Balance of Life, our YouTube channel as well as iTunes. And you can email me, afergusonwrp@yahoo.com, and we will definitely get you in contact so that you can purchase this book. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to Motivation Speaks with Angel Ferguson. We are here with author Marva Gathers Williams, and I was just asking her a question, and her husband, Mr. Williams, is here with us also, and I tell you, it's dynamic just to have that support with you when you are reaching any one of your goals. I absolutely commend that, to have that support. But I was asking her what was her favorite part of the book, and he said his favorite part was the last couple of chapters that he just had to read until the end. And you know what? That is absolutely awesome, because you read the whole book. Yes. That's good, because you didn't, it's, you know, sometimes it's, oh yeah, I read a couple of chapters. But when you love to read, and that tells me when a man read the whole book, it's a good book. Awesome, awesome. And in the background, I don't know if you can hear him, but that is Mr. Williams. He is here with us today in support of his wife's book, Paul. So, do you have a favorite part?
Now, my favorite part of the book was, the book also have kids in it, and during the Christmas time, they had a pageant at the church, this particular church, and an angel of the Lord came to the church and floated down on one of the little boys, the manger that this little boy was lying in, and they sung Ave Maria and Sweet Little Jesus Boy, and that was a touching part for me. I really, really enjoyed that part. In fact, I read it over and over and over.
Oh, okay.
Again. Yeah, it was really touching for me.
How long did it take you to write the book?
Well, approximately 2 years, because I just jumped on it and I just kept going. The biggest part was getting it published. That was my main setback. But as for writing the book, I punched the button and I went. It wasn't as if I had a thought about it, or I didn't have to find out whether this character would do that or that character would do this, or he was that place or she was that place. I sat at the computer and it went right through my head. It's as if I was robotic, and you punched me and I started writing and didn't stop.
Wow. That's awesome. And I love that kind of writing, that when it hits you, you have to get it out then. You have to let it flow at that time. That's awesome.
See, I was up 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning sometime. I went to bed at 5 o'clock sometime. But I had to get it done.
Even on vacation, she would write?
And sometime I would be sleeping in bed and a thought came right in my head while I was sleeping. I get up and go to the computer and I write it. I just went ahead and put it down while I was thinking about it. So, I mean, those thoughts it wasn't a thinking process. It wasn't whether, I want him to look like that. I want her to look like this or whatever. I want her to be at this place at this time. Or the next chapter would be, Paul did this or Michael did that. No, it wasn't that. I sat there, it went right through my head, and you pushed my button and I performed.
I can definitely understand and appreciate the late nights of writing. I was up the other night at 4:30, and I'm telling myself, Angel, you got to go to bed. But when you have to write, I keep notes in my phone. I have a tablet next to me because when I did go through the process of, I'll remember it in the morning, and I would forget.
You do.
So I stopped doing that. So now I write, and when it's there, you definitely have to get it out and write. Tell me a little bit about your first book, which is a children's book. Tell me about that.
Now, I had multiple stories in the children's book, and it was, excuse me, like a motivational book. It wasn't only enjoyable as bedtime stories for kids. It was also teaching them manners, how to be polite, how to be grateful, how to say thank you, and how to perform, as a kid instead of acting as an adult, in a kid's world. So it taught them a lot of things about everyday life and how to be a kid.
Okay. Interesting. And I know I actually came in contact with you via a very, very good colleague over at the local paper, the Florida Sentinel, Miss Lavora Edwards, and I've advertised with them for years. And I find it very, very funny anytime someone walks in there and they ask about a book signing or mention that they've written a book, she'll call me and I'm going to give your number out, and I think that's a good rapport.
Yes.
It's a very, very good rapport. So when we talked the other day, and she told me about you, and I'm like, okay, and I went ahead and I looked up the book, and I appreciate you coming in and discussing your book. I'm looking forward to working with you in any way that I can help you get to your next, as I always say, your next level, and to support the book. She did mention that you were writing another book. What kind of book is it? Is it fiction, nonfiction, spiritual? What are you writing now?
It's a fiction book, not a fiction book.
Okay. Is it character based?
Yes.
You like character based, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. So what's your projection of having that one released?
I need to see about getting this one completed, Paul completed first, and then it's already written. The only thing, it has to be critiqued, and to get some things that I might want to redo. And I'm hesitating about telling you the name of it because I think I'm thinking about changing the title of the book.
Okay.
So, but it's already done. It's ready to go. It's just the idea, of getting some things straightened out in it and a name change. Okay. I definitely understand that. I have learned sometimes I will not give a book a title until I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yep. And I recommend that to my clients. If they do not have a title, then after I've read the manuscript, then I'm like, okay, this is what, if they need help with coming up with the title. But sometimes it's after you've read and after you've written it all, then that title comes into play, because you want to make sure that your title represents the content.
Right.
and not something so far off that he's like, wait a minute, I thought the title, because I've picked up books before and I've read them and I keep flipping back to the cover to say, wait a minute, the title is what?
Exactly, yeah.
And it doesn't match. So you're absolutely right, and definitely I can understand wanting to get the kinks out. And the revisions. How many times did you have to go through a revision with Paul?
Oh, millions of times. I can't even count them. I can't. But see, I'm my worst enemy, because if I'm reading a sentence and it or is or should needs to be in it, my mind automatically puts it, and I just keep going. It's as if it's there on the paper, and it's not really there. It's just in my mind. So that was hard for me to do, because I had to reread it and read it over and over again. And then I'll look at it and say, now, how did I miss that? And it's right there, but it's not there.
Right.
But my mind automatically puts it in.
Awesome.
But I had a number of times I had to redo that.
So, in your expertise, as you will, as a author, have you been asked advice from others who are looking to write?
No, I haven't been asked advice about it. I've discussed it with several people that have done books or anticipated writing books, but we just exchange ideas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I find it funny, as soon as I mention to anyone what I do, you are not, every single day I hear, I want to write a book. Everybody has a book in them. You just have to get it out. And everyone has those journals that they write, and you would not believe, like, I'm sitting here and I actually have two, so very close to me. One is a vision, and then the other one is just like general notes when I'm studying. But when I'm writing something pertaining to the vision, I write in this book. And this one right here, and then I have another one for services for church. But when it comes to that vision, I write it in there. And then there's my notes that are full in here, and then there are those times that I'm at my laptop. So there are notes everywhere, but some way out of all of my chaos, I can pull them all together.
That's good.
And that's the best thing about being a seasoned author, as you are definitely growing into that. It's coming natural for you, where some might go to writing classes or have to go through extensive training on even learning how to build characters. But like you said, it just flowed. And I do believe in those God-given talents, that when that's your area, then that's your area. So we definitely look forward to reading the book. I sent a message to Lavora over at the paper. She told me to tell you hello. And I'll make sure that she gets a copy of the podcast today. And I'll definitely send you a link as well. Once again, the name of the book is called Paul. The author is Marva Gathers Williams. It is priced at $21.95. And over the next few days, I will talk about the book from what I have read and promoted, and let's look for some feedback. I think that'll be good if you did a feedback on the book. For those who've read the book, have you asked them what they thought?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I already know your husband is. He says the book is a go. So, and you've had good positive feedback on the book?
Yes, I have.
And the characters are great.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, first of all, I have to tell you, when I look at the name Paul, it automatically takes me to the Word of God.
The book
And
of Paul.
yes,
Yeah.
so I'm like, Paul, what did you do?
Right.
So that name, it just stands. That name stands. And like I said, the book cover, to me, when I look at the book cover, it signifies that road of Damascus.
Yeah.
When I look at the cover, I'm looking at the possibility of the unlimitedness in the clouds and the different layers, and this railroad that they're on, its travel, it's a road. So when I look at that cover, that's what I automatically see. I see travel of trials and tribulations and getting to your next. So definitely the book cover sells the book, and it really, really pulls me in, because I'm like, okay, where are they going? Where are they going? And what is it going to take for them to get there? So, but we thank you so very much for joining us today. We will definitely have you back. Once we have the details on your event for Barnes & Nobles, we will make that public. I do intend on being there, and we will help promote and get this book out there to sell copies, because we want you to get to the next one. We definitely we're ready to see the next one. Go out and order your copy today. You can order online via Amazon and BarnesandNobles.com. And like I did say, we do have a few copies of the book here, $21.95. If you would like to reserve a copy, I will definitely try and set up something over the next month so that we can have you back for a Table Talk brunch. The holidays is coming up, and that is a awesome, good gift. I don't know. We'll talk off after we get off the air. I don't know if you want to do something before Barnes & Nobles or after, but we'll definitely talk and see. Details will come when we will have her here to sign copies of her book, and you can come in and you can have a 101. And the way we do it here is I have a catered lunch. You get to meet and sit with your audience and talk and one-on-one. They go very, very well. The caterer that we use is Southern Indulgence. And they just, we do bagels and bread and chicken salad, and we cater it, and it's open to the public. And what I like to do is I send out personal invitations for those that I want to come in, and you get that one-on-one, and you get to sit and talk to them. And it spans over, Tina's was supposed to be for 2 hours, but I want to tell you she was here every bit of 4.5. She sold the book she had on the shelf, and she had to go out and get what was in her car. It's just that one-on-one intriguing. It's something that when you can get face-to-face with the author, you become one with your audience. And that's what we want to help you do here. So as we end our podcast, we thank you again for joining us. We look forward to working with you. Thank you again for Lavora Edwards for sending you my way. I so appreciate her. And as we close each podcast, stay encouraged, encouraging others along the way. Have a blessed afternoon.